Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is another day of Health Hangouts with Amanda. We have Kyle here. He's a realtor in Nanaimo and a friend of mine. We've done some work with him and listed some properties. And so although this series that we're doing here is about spreading strength, hope, and love for giving people ideas of how to get through this, how to help themselves, their families, their communities. I'm working on talking to all kinds of different professionals in various types of businesses, various types of positions to see what they're doing. So Kyle, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to see you again, even though I saw you yesterday. But I'm just really grateful that you're taking the time here with me to support this project and for the benefit of all our viewers. I
think it's a great project. Great thing you're doing. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So Kyle, if you want to just introduce yourself and talk about what you do and just tell us a little bit about you, and then I'll just ask you some questions.
Sure. Sounds great. My name is Kiel Lukaniuk. I'm a realtor with RE/MAX of Nanaimo. I've been trading real estate here in Nanaimo and Vancouver Island for about 5 years now. Moved here in 2015 from the Yellowknife Northwest Territories. Was up there for about 14 years, so I have a little bit of an Arctic blood in me, but yeah, it's been a great spot, been a great life, and love it down here. So
wonderful, cool. So yeah, I've worked with you a bit a year ago or so, and then now I'm working with you again here with a few projects we have on the go. So I'm just curious, before we get into the business side of things, just wanted to ask, like, you're a dad and a partner and you got some kids, like you have a brand new baby. He's just adorable. And you have you have a few other children. And I'm just wondering, like, just from a dad perspective and like in a family perspective, like, how are you doing? How are the kids doing being at home all the time, especially like your son is very new. I think it was only a few months, right?
Yeah, just going on 4 months, or just around 4 months here now. Yeah, oh man, this world has been flipped upside down. Even just routines, everything like that. You know, it's definitely a challenge. You know, you got kids that go on spring break, and it's one thing for them to be off for those couple of weeks and be able to have social interaction or be out there with their friends. But now we've obviously extended that, and everybody's stuck at home. So they're going a bit squirrely, and you know, they're doing well. But yes, we've got 4 kids. So my partner and I. She has 2 from a previous marriage, a 9 and 4-year-old, and then my daughter is 9, just turned 9 as well. And then we just had little Logan, and he's a little rock star. That one, he's awesome. Starting to find his voice now. So you know, get those late night screams in the middle of nowhere where you shoot up out of it. So yeah, no, it's been yeah, different world
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And so as you are, like, you're a pro in the real estate networking in Nanaimo for sure. And I'd like to just talk about, like, the market seems to be doing okay right now. I'm wondering, kind of, you know, we don't know, right? But I'm wondering from your professional perspective, like, what do you see happening? How are things going now, especially, you know, for your listings? And you can answer that however you want. I'm just curious, like, what do you see going on here and how are you doing with it?
Yeah, well, definitely. You know, anytime you've got a change in a market, you have to be able to adapt and retool, essentially. So I think a lot of us right now are in that phase where it's like, okay, we've got this ball of buyers and sellers, some satisfied, some unsatisfied, but we have this situation, this block in how we are going to be able to view properties safely, where everybody's able to, you know, get out, view a home, purchase a home, and then there's the battle of any sort of financing that could go along with it. A lot of lenders are starting to be a little more cautious when it comes to their risk assessment, obviously because of the number of layoffs that we've seen throughout the country, and potentially further down the road. So being that there's a little more risk in lending money, that's also adding another flare of challenge to it. But again, getting back to retooling, a perfect example, you know, is using a 3D walkthrough. We've got the means, the technology of being able to send a camera through a home, a property, and then copy that link and allow clients or buyers to be able to walk through that listing prior to even, you know, viewing it and getting a feeling for the home. So, you look at any sort of economic downturn, you look at any sort of change in the market, and if you're not willing to make those retools and adapt to them, is where you're going to start seeing things fall off. And that's where now it's nice because we have that time. We've got a breath in the market where we can take that time, make those changes, and hopefully do a better job for our clients when we come out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
Talking about the
actually,
market before you go on any further, just
yeah,
getting
sure.
sort of where we're at. You're right. We have seen a little bit of a tapering off. Well, not even a little bit. We've seen a leveling off for sure on clients and buyers and all that sort of stuff. Because again, just the uncertainty of what's to happen. Couple of schools on that. One is buyers are sitting there saying, well, if we hold off, we're going to see a reduction in price. Sellers are still saying, okay, we still need to sell, we still need to move. So it's just in this hiccup of a time where we're going to see this small blip on this real estate market that's gone crazy for the last 200 years, up and down, all over the place. But it's going to be that tiny little blip where it's like, oh, okay, that was COVID, and go from there. But yeah, we are definitely seeing a flatlining when it comes to sales.
Yeah. Are you, and you can answer or not answer, this is just kind of open forum, but are you worried about that at all? You know, like a lot of people have lost their jobs here, and income is not a thing for a lot of folks now. And I'm just wondering, like, how you personally feel about that as a realtor. And you work hard for the money that you make, and I know you do, right? So
I appreciate that. Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always going to be the concerns of where's the market going? What are we going to end up doing? The nice thing about this industry, although it is going to flatline for potentially a little bit here, there's always a need for people to buy, sell, move, and relocate. But it's really the curve as to how we're going to come out of it. Typically in a real estate world, and from your start point and going forward, there's about a 60 to 90 day period where you're not obtaining any income. So if we're sitting in a stagnant time right now and not doing productive things with our time, whereby we're going to eventually profit on those activities, it's just going to be that much further behind. So if, for example, in 3 months' time, a person then starts some sort of lead generation campaigns or working with clients, it's then that much further. So we could be looking at, let's say, up to 6 to 9 months without any form of real income. So, and of course, as self-employed individuals as well, some of us with this CERB, the assistance from the Canadian government, we're not certain if we're going to end up seeing any of that, or if it's going to be helpful for us, or whatever else too. So yeah, there's definitely some challenges when it comes to the economic side of things. People losing on their investments. I've had a couple of clients that have had to pull back from what they intend to do to be able to see where their investments are going to land. That's going to be a big part of it as well. People's financial security and going forward. So.
Yeah, and as you know, I'm in the same boat, just different industry, right? As a self-employed person, totally. And everybody on my team too, for on the counseling side. And so we're doing everything we can to kind of reach out and give a lot of free services, which is part of what this video series is about. And if people can cover for their own in counseling services, then that's wonderful. If they can't, then they can't. That's all there is to it. So yeah, we are reaching out and doing what we can and offering support for like actually on the BC government website there, they've allotted $5 million. I read this article today. They allotted $5 million for mental health services, digital mental health services.
Awesome.
And I anticipate, I'm not entirely sure, but I anticipate that goes to the consumer, and then that comes back to whatever counseling agency that they choose. So I've contacted them to find out more information about that, and if we can be placed on that resource list. So there's more people who know what I'm doing, and maybe there's more support for my team on top of like all the other teams that are out there too. But we're all in the same boat here.
And I think that's fascinating too. I like to see that what the government is providing programs for that, because as we're in the state of self-isolation, and maybe we'll get to this a little bit further, but I know even for myself, I'm very extrovert. I'm kind of the go-getter. I'm rarely in one position at any time. So when I'm stuck at home, not only am I trying to work from home, but also not able to be social, and I mean, we're gregarious by nature. So that's very challenging for people. But I can only imagine that some with some mental health concerns needing that extra help throughout, I think is absolutely brilliant, because it's, and it's not affordable by all. So to have that extra assistance is
not by far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's the other piece too, is this isolation and having to stay at home. And then, we feel like, sometimes I can be dramatic for those of you who know me, but, you know, taking our lives into our hands as we go out to the grocery store. And that's partially dramatic and partially true. Like I
It's
think
true.
about that when I go to the
Yeah.
grocery store. And I was just at Shoppers Drug Mart today, just getting a few things, and there's hand sanitizing, stuff before you walk in. And actually the
Yeah.
Shoppers Drug Mart I went to, I don't know, 6 days ago or something, had a security guard outside that was counting and said, "Oh, you guys can't go
Wow.
in because there's only 25 people in the entire store allowed at a time." So one person came out and he said to me, or us, the two of us that were there, he said, "Okay, one of you can go in now." I thought, well, we want to go together, so we'll just wait. But it's fascinating to see. This is all information that's just like unfolding around us that we just have no control over, right? And yeah, although we were talking for a minute about the mental health stuff, there's a lot that people don't know how to deal with. Like, honestly, we are always, every day, without this pandemic, dealing
Yeah.
with life problems, right? And then this now on top of the life problems we were already trying to deal with is a nightmare for a lot of folks.
No kidding.
And some people seem to be handling it well, and they're taking, they have a good attitude about it, or they have positivity they can spread and whatnot. But there's so many people out there who aren't. We're seeing a rise in suicide as
Right.
a result, and then of course as a result of what's happening in conjunction with other things. I mean, everybody's story is different, right?
Of
So,
course.
my plea that I give out to viewers and my friends and loved ones and my community and anybody I talk to is like, do something about it. And I know you feel like a caged animal,
Oh.
like me too. I, just like you, Kyle, I'm very social and I love going out and going for wings and like
Yeah.
socializing and playing board games, or like whatever it is. I love being
Well,
social,
that's our,
and
our
so
recharge at
it's
that
been
point.
really
It's
tough.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry.
Zoom faux
Happened.
pas.
Yeah. So yeah, I know, like it is tough. And so I say out there, do something. And so that's
Yeah.
what I ask Kyle for you, being an extrovert as much as you are. And I know that about you. You said this has been tough. I just wonder, like, what are you doing about it? What are you doing to avoid getting stuck in kind of a position of like, we kind of get to a place where like, oh, I don't care. I don't want to put the dish in the dishwasher because I'm just
Totally.
too lazy about it. I just want to watch TV, or I just want to do this. And you have kids to take care of, and you have a partner at home. Like, how are you helping yourself to maintain a positive attitude? Because you walk around with a really positive attitude, and I see you do the best you can. But what are you doing to help out?
Well, I mean, and that's a good question. Um, I always remind myself of a little adage where it's procrastination is the assassination of motivation. And
Mm,
it's kind of true, because you're right. You could not do dishes, but if you leave that dish, then it just compounds. There's just that much extra, and there's just that extra little clutter. If you take that
mm-hmm,
actual mental snapshot, or it's that mental positive note, and say, no, I'm going to deal with this now. I'm going to put this away. And then when you've got that clean counter, so to speak, it's that one less thing that you have to deal with. You're absolutely right. It is so easy to be able to take things, put it aside, and turn on Netflix and kick back for 2.5 hours. But that's two and a
mm-hmm.
half hours of wasted time. And you're absolutely right when it comes to like things like kids, or being able to just move forward. Now, we're a little bit
Yeah.
lucky in this industry because we do still have somewhat of a requirement for being out in the public, and having that social time, or the face-to-face with others outside of your family. So I'm lucky in that sense, where I still get to have a minor amount of social life responsibly, right? In being out
Mm-hmm,
there.
mm-hmm.
One thing, so I set up my entire garage as a gym. Now, I haven't been able to get there in the morning yet, but about a couple of weeks ago, I got everything set up in there, got the elliptical, the weights, the whole 9 yards. So that's
Cool.
my goal, is to be able to get in there every morning and do something, at least an hour's worth of physical activity, because I'm feeling like I'm this ball that's crunching up a little bit more and more every
Mm-hmm,
day, and I need to be able to stretch it, right?
mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a big thing. But I think that's important for a lot of people, to get some form of physical activity every day, whether it's going for a walk or doing 10 push-ups, or something, just doing something, so you're not atrophying, is that a word? Becoming,
Atrophy.
a
Yeah,
couch
yeah.
potato. Yeah, yeah, just being a couch potato. A colleague of mine actually started a really neat thing on the Facebook group as well, whereby you read 10 pages of a motivational book or a book of some
Okay.
sort, 10 pages every day. And from that 10 pages, you select a quote, and then we post that. And it has been ridiculously inspiring. Just one of those things where you can take it, you can read it, you can apply what somebody else has read and found to be fascinating and put it into your own day and your own filing system, as it were. So that's been a huge help as well, albeit it's small and tiny, but going through those has been very helpful.
Oh, that's so cool. And that, in previous videos, I've talked about like this power of manifestation, and what we attract is what's going to manifest, right? And when we attract positivity, then we can actually believe it. We can actually like play into it and spread it. But when we're not
Absolutely.
doing anything, we don't have any of that. We can't, if we're just perusing all the time, we're like, okay, but we're not involved in being connected. That was actually the second video that I posted with Kenneth Kuntz, and we talked about how important connection is, regardless of if it's digital or not. It's really
Hmm.
very, very important. And so I love that idea that it's like, oh, this is what I found inspiring today. Take this and
Totally.
use it if you can. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping that people will pull from these videos, is like, this is what we're doing. Can you try that? Like I was talking to Rosa. I also did an interview with a few days ago, and Rosa was talking about this game called Drawful, and it's like draw and awful together, and I can't remember what the producers are, but anyway, so I went on the website, and I was like planning on getting a group of people together, and you can just like all play on your phones, and you have to draw, and then people have to guess what you're drawing, and it's just like there's so many games
That's
that you can
funny.
play. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, why not? So I'm actually going to have a games night with a group of close people to me, and we'll all be on our computers wherever we are, and it's not going to matter, because the quality of the connection is the same,
Oh,
because it's the same people connecting, right? We have to
it's
change our
true.
scope of what connection actually means in order to have those needs met. So we're not like that ball that's really, really tight, and we need to let that ball break apart a bit, right?
Yeah,
Because we just can't breathe in that. So I love
fully.
this idea of you having like the equipment and doing something with it on a daily basis, because that's important. Are you talking about your garage at home, or do you have a
Yeah.
place that yeah,
No,
okay.
I was looking at maybe trying to rent some form of lease space where I could have an office and the gym at the same time, so I had a place to go.
Yeah,
But at
you're
least
just
this
like,
way
oh,
it's
it's time to
useful for
work
everything.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So when you said earlier, you're like, I just haven't gotten down there to try it yet. I was like, oh, do you have to leave the house for that? But you just meant your own garage.
My own garage. It's you get the 4 month old, and the amount of sleep
Yeah.
is it's pretty precious right now. But
Oh.
I still need to be able to get something physical done. But I want to go back to something you had said about being positive
Sure.
and going and just putting on that happy face. One thing that I've made a conscious effort to do is every day, if I am out and I see people, if I walk past something, I do a minimum of 5 people a day. I just smile at them. Not
Wow.
weirdly, not creepily, just a smile. It's something that we're lacking in our
Yeah.
world, I find, is that we're always on our own little bubble. And when somebody shows any sort of positivity or affection or any in that realm, it's weird. And I don't know
Mm.
why it has to be weird. I think in this world, this thing that we're in right now, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to take that. And as people are, I'm lost for the word, I guess, more open to the what's happening right now. People are finding are much more polite right now. They're much nicer, all that sort of stuff. It's a great opportunity to give those extra smiles. And then it's surprising
Mhm.
how many people are first, they get a shock or a look of like, what's he want? And then they just smile back. And it's actually it's a neat way to do it, because then you can kind of feed off that positivity because it is infectious. Negativity, on the other hand, anytime you've got those negative people and you're surrounded by negative people, it tends to bring you down. It's that much harder to kind of build back up. So I always find that that's an interesting little social experiment, if you will, if nothing else, to make attempt to that. So
And I was when was it? A few weeks ago, when this whole thing kind of was starting, I went, oh my goodness, where was it? It was like mid-island. It was my birthday, and
yeah.
so we wanted to go check out like some beaches and we went for a few days up island a little bit, and we were walking on this path, and I have a little dog named Charlie, and we're walking on this path, and
Charlie.
and it, everyone's starting to social distance or physical distance at that time, but we didn't really know what was happening, aside from we probably shouldn't be hanging out in groups anymore. And I was walking down this path. It was just near Courtney, just south of Courtney, and this woman was on her balcony, and we just exchanged this very simple, like, hi, hello, but in a wave and a smile. And I remember for myself, like, I was touched by that, and I was like, that was really nice. I even, instead of the person I was with, I was like, that was really nice. And it was nothing. It was like, but if you think about it, if that had been the same, all the same circumstances, except no COVID, would that exchange have happened?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, I don't think so. Like, I have these blinders where I'm like, oh, next meeting, or I have, I'm doing something or whatever, and I'm just like going 100 miles an hour, and I know what that's like. And so, like, I just stopped and I gave some time to receive what this person was doing, and to give back, and I really enjoyed that myself, right? And so I agree 100% that if we can just give a little, and we don't have to do anything, just a little nod, an acknowledgement, because we're all struggling, and somebody might just need that for the day, like, might just be like,
Bingo.
That's perfect, right? So it's absolutely really valuable. I agree.
And it doesn't even have to be it's a split second thing. It's a smile. It's, you said, a wave, a nod, something like that. It's just friendly. Split second thing. It costs nothing to do. It's not like you're, the concept of buying somebody's stuff behind you at the drive-through. Super great. That's awesome. And it's in a social world. That means a lot to people and stuff. But it's something like this. It costs you absolutely nothing to put a smile on for someone else. And you might even be having a bad day, but it's amazing what a smile or, a twinkle or something like that will do for your own psyche. Just kind of forcing you out of that funk, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So as I know, I want to go back to what you said about the virtual tours of the houses. And and just recently I have witnessed, like, the work that you've done, and how that virtual tour came together. So as a consumer of as a what do we call it, clients? Would you call it a client? Like, as a client of yours, as a client of yours, like, I watched how you put that all together, and just fascinating technology. Like, maybe it's been around for a while, I don't know, but it was great as I watched the video, and not video, I was walking through the house, and I was like, this is fascinating. It's really great. I got to turn around every corner and spin around every room. Like, it was just
there's my blanket.
really neat. Yeah, it was so cool. And it was like, I just wanted to attest to that virtual reality. It was so neat that technology exists. And even though I know the house really well, as I walked through the house, I felt the house, and so I just feel like it's a really great representation of what the house is. Like, it was just so awesome. So it really is valuable to have that virtual tour as a realtor, I think, because as a client and consumer, that was really great. And now as I go on to MLS, if not, not that I'm looking to buy right now, but in the event that I were looking to buy, I would go on MLS, and I would look at those, like, that it works, and it's totally accurate, the depiction of the house. Like, it's just fantastic. It really gives the same feel and the same views, and so I was so impressed. And I've heard about virtual tours before, but I've never been that close to one before, where I was like, wow, this is really effective. So I can speak to that front hand. That's really, really great. And so just curious, like, as you go forward, I imagine you'll continue to list and do your work as best you can with whatever you have available to you.
Well, and that's it. Absolutely. So we have to be economically responsible. Yes, we have to be cautious when it comes to our interactions with humans and with this virus and everything like that, and which is why retooling and making use of a product like that is beneficial for everybody. In truth, it's been around for a long time. to add that value in a hot market whereby you've got tons of people coming through. A property is sold generally in a few days after it lists. The requirement tends to fall off. Some of us, and I'm guilty of it myself, you become a little lazy and complacent with it because it's not required, right? There's a fair amount of cost that's involved in performing one of those. But at this point, at this juncture, to be socially responsible, economically responsible, all those sorts of things, to be able to, it's even an injection into the economy, right? We're still able to hire out another service to be able to provide a service to our clients. So it's all sort of relative in that sense. But the big one is that now we're showing that extra value. We're helping our clients, our sellers, in the sense that people are able to view the home responsibly without them, actually being there and putting anybody in danger, themselves or the sellers at that point. So absolutely, is it a product I'm going to continue going forward? I love it. It's wonderful. There's actually even some cool stuff that you can do with those 3D goggles, where you can kind of walk through the house and you blink to get the little spots on the floor. And it takes you through, and you can kind of look around and you can see the whole house without using your mouse.
So cool.
Yeah, like the $30 Google Glass things will let you put your phone in there.
I was just clicking, right? But that would have been even cooler.
It's pretty neat.
To be able to do that.
It's something else.
Like, I'm really here, right? But see, that brings up another question too. Is I mean, when people buy houses, they want to be there and they want to walk through. And do you think, because this is like, the world is changing now, right? And I always have these like big ideas about how we can do everything digital. And I've been so interested. And when I came out with the digital counseling company, I had a handful of people say, you're being ridiculous. Like, this is the worst idea. If you think, quote, one guy said to me, if you think that you're going to go to Victoria and you're going to, get away with having this digital practice, you have your head in the clouds. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to do it anyway. So my question is like, when people go to buy houses, they want to walk through and get the feel. And although, like, I agree, do you think that we might, as we're like not supposed to be leaving the houses and everything, our own houses, do you think that people might actually do these virtual tours and use them, and that it might be enough for some people to actually buy a property?
Well,
it's a tough one, right?
Yeah, it is. And that's a two-part question that I think I can answer. So the first one, yes, absolutely. I think, and it's unfortunate, we're going to see a fair amount of small business that doesn't do a lot of online type stuff that is, as a result of this virus, is going to feel a major impact if they're even able to continue on after all this. And that's really unfortunate, because yes, online is a thing. It absolutely is. When we talk about, let's say, the world of retail, right? Personally, I went to go to Best Buy to buy something. And, or am I allowed to say plug Best Buy on this?
Oh, yeah. This is just
I
our
went to
lives,
an electronics
man.
store.
You can say whatever.
I went to go buy something, and I couldn't, because of course what was happening. So I had to physically order it online to be able to go to the store to pay for it, take it home, and then I couldn't actually hold the physical product. Fairly costly thing, but even still, whether it's a t-shirt or something along those lines, a pair of shoes, I find, okay, well, if I want to go buy a pair of shoes, I kind of need to try them on. So I've ordered a couple pairs of shoes online. They're going to show up. If they don't fit, then I'm like, well, now what? I got to return them and send them back.
Can you send them back, or was there some kind of clause in there that?
I'm sure there is, but then it's like, now I have to go to the post office with these, and so it's like that extra added thing outside of the world of retail. So
I get that.
There is an exodus of brick and mortar. There's no doubt, and when we apply that to the real estate world, we're seeing more and more online digital brokerages where there isn't that direct communication. We don't have an actual location that we can go to. It is online. You've got companies in the States like Zillow and Redfin, and some of these companies that are basically just online lead generating machines that people go to. Amazon is talking about getting into home sales on their website in the States.
Really?
Right.
Wow.
So how do we begin to be competitive in that market space, in that airspace? If we're just focused solely on the person to person, belly to belly, we have to be able to connect and engage our clients digitally, remotely, along with being in a person to person type situation. So I think by doing stuff like this, where it's a video walkthrough, or even, I can tell you that there's clients that I have that live remotely, that I'll go to a listing, I'll do a candid video, I'll upload it to my YouTube channel, or we'll use a product like BombBomb, where it's a face-to-face communication. They can record it, they can rewind it, they can watch it a number of times, they can view that home without actually physically walking through the door. The amount of people that actually buy a house without seeing it, that's not an investor, pretty slim. Because you're right, you get a sense of, digitally what that feels like, and it's cool, but it's still on a two-dimensional screen. You don't get that feeling of even the airspace in the home, right? You can walk into a home and know immediately the coziness level, the comfort level, if the floor plan is actually going to work. So I think that we're still going to have a requirement, or people are still going to want to see and be physically present in those homes. What I think this gives us an opportunity to do is to show our sellers that value, but also provide buyers another avenue before actually booking that showing. So
yeah, because I'm thinking about, there was in Manitoba, actually, I rented a property once via video. So the renter was, I can't remember exactly where he was, but he was moving to Manitoba anyway. So I said to him, okay, we're going to do a Zoom chat. I'm going to walk around the house. I'm going to show you whatever you want to see. And then you're going to tell me if you want it or not, because I'm leaving town. So we got to figure this out. By the time you get here, I'm going to be gone. So let's figure it out. And so I did that, and we had a great chat, and we walked around, and he was like, okay. And that was it. And I said, okay, well, I'll leave the key in this location, and
here's
you
my
send
email
your
address.
Deposit. Here's the email address. And he stayed there for a year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like it was really, really cool. But I mean, I get that the whole like renting thing is different than the buying thing. And I myself, I know that I would want to walk through and like be able to hear the sounds of like the highway that's however far away, or be able to see if, like the air in the house, and all that. So those things you cannot judge based on a video or a virtual walkthrough. But what I will say from a customer perspective, like it's so valuable to have that.
Cool.
And that way, when you're looking through and you walk virtually through, a house, and you're like, oh, I actually really don't like this about that house, and I wouldn't have seen that just with the photos, and so I'm not going to view this house. So we are able to actually narrow down to a really small percentage exactly the houses that we want to see, because of that virtual walkthrough. So yeah, I think it's great, and I'm excited for when I do buy, because I'm going to buy through you also, whenever I'm ready to do that. But when I do that will help me narrow it down, and not to be dragging you around to like this place and that place, and then I walk in, I'm like, I don't like this, and I would have seen it through the virtual walkthrough. So I do know, I've looked at a few listings, and I do know that not all realtors are doing that. Like you said, like it's not a requirement. So I'm slightly disappointed when there's no virtual walkthrough, but it is a pretty penny to put something like that together too, right? So yeah, I just wondering, I had another question, I've forgotten it right now, but I'll come back to it. So in the event that somebody in, say, the Nanaimo area wanted to talk to you, can I pass on your information to them, and they can reach out, and if they want to do any business with you, anything like that?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm happy. I work generally from, I will go to Victoria area, up to the Comox Valley. Sort of the areas where I service. More than happy to, if you've got anybody, even with just basic questions on the market or anything, happy to have them reach out. Any contact is fine. So text, email, phone, no problem at all. With this time frame right now, my big focus, to be honest, while business is still happening, but is always just checking in on everybody else, making those calls and those rounds and seeing how everybody's doing, and switching from a sales mindset into more of a service mindset. So how can I be of service to somebody else, and or anybody that is experiencing some challenges in that regard. So if I have to take off the service hat and put the sales hat back on, or the market hat, or whatever we need to, then I'm more than happy to. So.
Well, that's wonderful. And it just, for everybody's information, what's the email address, or say a website that they can go to contact you directly?
So the website, so my name is challenging. It's Kiel, spelled Kiel. The email is Kiel, Kiel, at kielrealty.ca is the best email. Cell number?
Not yet. No,
Okay.
I think we'll just put that. we'll put your email address on the posting of the video also, and then they can
Perfect.
email you and you can provide the cell number if that's okay with you.
100%. That's perfect.
Yeah, because then you can screen them and let it, whatever, whatever you do. Yeah, so that's really good. And yeah, I guess the last question I have for you before we go, Kyle, is just any last words of advice, just from a human to human perspective, considering like there may be some people who potentially want to sell their properties who watch this, but there's going to be a ton of people who watch this who aren't in that position, and just want to hear from you as a human, what, if you have anything else that you want to share and are just interested in that.
Yeah, you know, to that, all I can say is look in the mirror every day, smile at yourself, be happy, do the best that you can. That's all I can really do. I mean, every day is a new day. Sun comes up each day. Whatever happened yesterday doesn't necessarily need to infect the today. So we always look forward. We look through a window and not necessarily in a mirror. And that's what I find to be most helpful in just staying positive and keeping keen.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Cool. Well, I super support you and what you stand for and what you're trying to do out in, for yourself, your family, and your community. Also, thanks again for taking the time. I think this is probably a good time, natural time to close. And then, yeah, we'll be in touch on the little slash big projects we have going on right now. And I just really appreciate your work, because it stands for itself. And I would advocate for you if anybody wants to sell their place or their land or just anything that, yeah, I would encourage them to give you a call.
But make sure, yeah, I wanted to say as well, you're doing an amazing job. I think that this video series is a brilliant idea, and I'm confident that there's people out there that are making use of it, and it's being helpful. So well done. Good on you.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle, and I will talk to you soon.
Sounds great.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
See ya.